maybe she's a Renaissance woman, right? Maybe she doesn't live her life.
Renaissance woman. She's at a 24-hour gym.
Okay, wait.
You can draw the line.
This is the second time that you have misinterpreted the definition of Renaissance woman / man on the podcast.
What does it mean?
Renaissance. Okay, it doesn't mean.
The powder rig shit. Fucking
Welcome back to Show Me Yours podcast with Jackie and Johnny. I'm Jackie Agnew.
I'm Johnny DeVito.
And I'm tired of what I know.
You're goddamn right.
Ooh. Thank you for joining us again, or if it's your first time, welcome.
Welcome.
And
yeah.
where the heck have you been, partner?
We've been waiting here butt naked for weeks.
Yeah.
It's cold.
It's cold.
Hips are freezing.
Yeah. As per usual, hit that subscribe button, the old like-a-roo, leave a little commenty poo.
Sure.
Follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook,
We do TikToks?
TikTok,
Yeah.
and come out and watch us perform live.
Ooh, that's the one
at,
to do it. That's the way to do it.
At King's Head Pub every Tuesday in old Kitsilano.
Yeah.
Links to all of that shit is below there, but most importantly, hit that 5 stars
Oh, yeah.
review,
I
comments.
gave 20 of those stickers out at the show last
Yeah.
time. So if there's 20 new listeners, then hello.
Yeah.
And if not, then joke's on me.
And Ty, what do you got?
We got Common Ring's got some awesome stuff happening. We got the roast battle happening on May 19th at Calabash. The women's title will be defended by Jackie Agnew.
Oh.
Yes. Jackie will be defending her title. Also, I believe Ravi Khanna will be in a triple threat match with John Gagnon and Fung there. And
Oh,
we're
they're going to be 3 ways? That's
yeah.
sweet.
We're going to do a triple threat
Nice.
to see you the title. It was big upset last time. It was crazy time. So the roast battle is going to be going on every 2 weeks at Calabash.
Yeah.
We're super pumped about that. And then we got some announcements coming up here as far as we will be at the Amsterdam Cafe on May 18th, the day before the roast battle.
Hell
So
yeah.
that'll be like
Fuck
a
yeah.
420 friendly show and all that, bro.
Hell
So yeah, go check
Very
them all
fun.
out on Eventbrite, Comedy Ring. Boom.
Nice. I didn't realize that was the show that we were booked on the 18th.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Just got the old classic Adrian available the 18th.
That's why I love the
Haven't
comedy
heard
ring. Because
anything
I
about
don't know where, I don't know what
Yeah.
time. I just know on that day I'm going to do comedy.
Listen,
yeah,
we
that's
tried.
exciting.
We tried to have it like home base. We're still looking for the home base.
Yeah. No, that's fucking
But
awesome.
people know
I'm
us as
stoked.
just like a nomadish sort of production where it's like, yeah, we'll be here. We'll just make this. This will be
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's the best thing about it, right? Like the comedy ring exists in your heart. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a location,
Yeah.
right? It's not a brick and mortar place like a fucking 7-Eleven or a Starbucks that some piece of shit could throw a fucking brick through the window. What the comedy ring is something more than that. And I think that when it does find a a home, that's gonna be great. But it's never, the brick and the mortar is never gonna be the the thing to me.
Right.
Yeah,
You
we're
know?
doing more stuff at Calabash as well too. So yeah. Keep an eye out.
Comedy ring lives within your heart.
It's true.
Yeah.
Much
yeah.
like
Neverland.
Much like hate. They're side by side.
I thought that's where Johnny was going with it.
I didn't want to.
He's
though,
talking
so I
about
pulled back, but then you came back.
I saw you pull it back. And I was like,
They've linked arms
But he's
around.
still-
her.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
it's like a home is where the heart is thing. It's like comedy ring is wherever Ravi is screaming slurs on stage. I think it's like you could put like a pallet in the back of a garage, and that could be the comedy ring, and I would still support it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I looked at a garage space for us. What are we doing here?
Hey, I think you got the means to make it happen right here. You got all the chairs stacked
We
up
do,
there.
yeah,
you could
yeah.
put
I've
on a
got half our
show.
parts right now. Yeah.
That would be actually kind of cool if you did like different kind of like alt shows or whatever in the bedrooms and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
then blew out like a big main
Show
room
your
and
neighbors what a
I
noisy.
feel like that's gonna get
Yeah.
real weird
Yeah.
real quick.
Oh yeah.
And I know that's why you want me to have it, Johnny, but I just can't, bro.
Did you see me try to shoehorn like a sex room into the whole comedy?
I did.
Did you see? Okay.
I did.
All right.
I did.
Your bedroom. You're not going to be using that, right? We're gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bed already in there. Lock the door.
Johnny just shows up with tarps. I'm like, God damn it.
What is this not cool? It's not cool. It's the weird thing is that when I was in Vegas, I was with some friends of mine, and we were going to see a band at like an after show at Punk Rock Bowling, and I could just hear like jingling going around or whatever. And I mean, there's a bunch of like punk kids or whatever, so like chain wallets and whatever, not very far from them. But it was, I could see it kind of like muffling under his shirt, and my buddy was just wearing like nipple clamps just under his shirt to like, not for show or anything like that, just because he wanted his nipples clamped the entire time that he was at this show.
Wow.
And he came up to me halfway through the show, like clutching him shit, like because they got ripped off at a mosh pit, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
But you know what I mean? Some people are just some people go the next level, and I appreciate them for that.
Right. Yeah. Clamp them up.
Clamp them up.
Give him the clamps.
Clamp.
Give him the clamps.
Give them the clamp. But yeah, we have a great album to dissect today. But before we get into it, we have a very exciting news story.
I think related to the album as well.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Of course, I know you somehow. I can't wait for this.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
This is exciting. We haven't done a paranormal story in a minute on the podcast, and this used to be a staple.
This the podcast was going to be ghosts and Bigfoot and farts for like a really long time before we decided that like music is something that we love and it's something that we want to do, and I love the show, but is the more paranormal the better.
Exactly.
And you know what I mean? A story like this, I'm really excited to sink my teeth into.
A woman in Ashland has spotted a Bigfoot. Now, she was exiting a gym late at night, which is
midnight.
At midnight,
Which sounds a little
gym.
suspect
24-hour gym.
But
it is prime Bigfoot sighting hours. Between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. is typically when you're going to get a valid Class A Bigfoot.
Class A, as Jackie put it earlier.
I love the classification of it, right? Like we're gonna get a little bit deeper, but I would consider this a Class A sighting as well. Basically what we have here is that this woman saw the Bigfoot, and I think what you have here is just a case of a lady that maybe saw something crazy, but now once you tell something, it gets a little bit farther from you than you can really contain.
So a 20-year-old woman walked out of the warehouse 24-hour gym around midnight, her workout complete.
Yeah.
Just
well, it's
so
important
everyone
information,
knows.
right? Like
She got her tread on.
Everyone knows leg day was not skipped.
100%. This bitch ain't
to know. Good to know.
Make sure that's in the article.
story.
I finished my workout.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if the only reason that she was there is because like she was like skipping leg day, but then like you know what I mean, inside it was just eating her up, so she could just see the clock ticking, right? And he's like, well, no, fucking, I'm not skipping leg day. Get there before midnight. Get
Right.
it in,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What if I go out of here and get interviewed by the news about something?
Yeah, I need to be
know.
clear. My workout was complete. When I was exiting the 24-hour warehouse
like,
gym.
I mean, No, it wasn't. Your workout was not complete. Like, if you had to say it, then it wasn't. And like, I feel like that's still eating you up inside.
Yeah. She turned to the right. Everyone close their eyes so you can set the scene. She turned to the right and headed to her car in the well-lit parking lot. There were no other vehicles in the lot on that side of the building, which was constructed and opened in 2018. There's a lot of interesting backstory.
A lot of information in this article. A lot of information. You know? We got a journalist really flexing the muscles here.
But she was reportedly not alone on the cool, clear spring night of April 24th.
You want to know it's cool. You want to know it's clear. You want to know it's spring night,
This
right? Because
is
there
great
is no
writing.
problem with visibility here. So, sorry. Continue.
The woman heard a twig snap. She looked and saw a creature 7 or 8 feet tall and covered in gray fur racing back into the woods about 30 yards away. It was far too large, likely several hundred pounds, and moved too quickly to be a man, she believed. Shaken and in tears, she called her parents from a nearby restaurant, asking them to come and drive her home. Does she not have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't she go to the gym?
Like April 21st. 1975.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, that you kind of go back in time here, right?
Right.
But like, I mean, if you're maybe she's a Renaissance woman, right? Maybe she doesn't live her life.
Renaissance woman. She's at a 24-hour gym.
Okay, wait.
You can
This
draw
is-
the line.
This is the second time that you have misinterpreted the definition of Renaissance woman / man on the podcast.
What does it mean?
Renaissance. It doesn't
You know, the
mean.
powder rig shit. fucking-
I don't think traditionally, when it's used colloquially, it means a person that lives of the Renaissance. It's a person that has many talents, you know? So like a Donald
doesn't
Glover.
necessarily mean they
Much
going
like
to
myself.
fairs.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they're dressed up and and living like it's the Renaissance period. It means that you're good at many things. So someone like a Donald Glover would be called a modern day Renaissance man.
I thought you were
Is
going to
he-
say
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
guys. I mean, no disrespect to Donald Glover, right? But you are sitting next to Johnny DeVito, probably one of the most talented athletes on planet Earth.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Definitely gifted to the point that like I wasn't gonna bring it up.
Fucking
I wasn't gonna bring it up.
Neither were
Really?
we.
You're trying pretty hard to bring it up.
Old Johnny DeVito here. Played pitch and putt yesterday. Played pitch and putt yesterday. You're on the 12th hole, I believe.
12th hole, yes, 55
12th hole.
yards.
55 yards. Hole in one, Johnny DeVito.
Who'd have
He's been
thunk it?
playing golf for 2 weeks. We're all super happy about it, including his brother, who was golfing with him at the time.
Yes. He gave me the clubs. I talked to my dad last night, and it turns out that my dad gave my brother those clubs, and I believe my grandfather gave them to him before he passed.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering how many fucking DeVitos got to swing those sticks until somebody knows how to use one. And I'm
Johnny came home, called his dad and told him, then called his Nana and told her about it.
Yeah.
Just went through his contact list,
Yes.
called everyone.
Yeah, I ignored the call.
Yeah.
It was a bummer because like we were talking yesterday, Ty, and you weren't having the best days. So like I didn't want to rub it into you.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I got a hole in one today.
You're just like, fuck, man. It's just like I've had a rough week and it's not a great day.
He's like, tough go, man, tough go. He's like,
This is the best day of my life.
yeah. You know that game that you try really hard at?
Turns out it's not very
Yeah,
difficult
well,
at
I
all.
was wearing my Van slip-ons. And just beat the game. Cool story.
Yeah.
It's like you hit that like Mario time warp bullshit.
I don't know what the fuck happened here because
sick, though.
it
That
was-
must have
it-
been-
it will-
that
yeah,
must have been
we'll get into the
That must have
particulars
felt
of
really
the
good.
actual- It definitely did. I was in disbelief. But anyways,
Rarer than a DeVito getting a hole in one is seeing a Sasquatch.
Yeah,
Back
yeah.
into the story.
Now that we've defined Renaissance, man.
okay, so in my defense, I believe that I was using it as like a synonym for like something of a bygone era.
Yeah, of a person who lives as though it's the Renaissance era, which is fair.
I don't even know what
But-
time period the Renaissance was. 1500s, French Revolution. I don't know.
I have no idea.
What year of social studies?
What
show?
you so- yeah, it was a-
1600s. That's my
Okay.
guess.
There you
Okay.
go.
Sorry,
Yeah.
We'll go with
anyway.
that.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
Anyone, feel free to fact check us.
Yeah. Tangential.
And also, why did she go to a nearby restaurant to call her parents when she had just exited the gym, which also presumably has a phone?
I think there's a little bit more to
What
the
nearby
story. Like,
restaurant?
I think that she was.
Yeah. Why we're getting so much backstory? They don't tell us the name of the restaurant she goes into.
I think she was
And
doing
when,
something
what
completely
time?
different.
What year
'Cause
that was
restaurant
built in?
better have a Sasquatch special.
Well, 100%.
don't.
I think if you're an like any Pacific Northwest restaurant that doesn't have any kind of Bigfoot or
Mm-hmm.
Sasquatch kind of theme, or you know what I mean, like baby Sasquatches eat free like sign on the door, then
Right.
you know what I mean. Then I feel like you're fucking up.
That's cute.
Yeah,
you
that's
love that.
cute.
You love
yeah,
to see
you
that.
love it. She had likely encountered a Sasquatch, according to nationally acclaimed Bigfoot investigator Matthew Moneymaker.
You moneymaker. How do these people expect credibility
I know.
on anything?
Your last name is
I
Mr. Moneymaker.
You can't. And you know what pisses me off is that we've been in the in the business of preserving the name of Bigfoot. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
Honestly, like
true.
if we were going to go out and do some kind of like Bigfoot hunt or do anything like that, it would basically be to drive people's attention towards us and away from the actual Bigfoot, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think that when people will use the noble Bigfoot, you know what I mean, just to capitalize on it and make money.
Yeah, that's,
you know, you're
yeah,
kind of a prick.
It's an ongoing
and
issue.
It's
within
really
the
hard for me
community.
not to look at a guy named fucking Matthew Moneymaker and not just want to punch him in the face on principle.
Right.
So, you know, fuck this guy, but we'll continue because he is doing.
You see his face though.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll put a picture of him somewhere while this is going on.
Yeah.
So the exact picture that I'm looking at right now, he looks like a Matthew Moneymaker.
Oh yeah.
And he has devoted much of his life to the pursuit of the mysterious creature, including the national cable TV show Finding Bigfoot. So Moneymaker, a California resident who founded the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization in 1995, spoke to the woman and her father before posting report number 69065 on his website. There were plans to visit her in person to gain more information and research at the location of the sighting outside the gym at 1151 Commerce Parkway on the city's east side. Unfortunately, some of the woman's friends and coworkers learned of her experience through the website and made light of her claim. She and her father asked her name be removed from the website report, a request with which Moneymaker complied. She isn't interested in further participation, though she isn't backing off what she claimed she saw. She stands by what she saw, and so do her parents.
You know, she's 20 and she doesn't want the ridicule, right?
Exactly.
A lot of people.
It's tragic, you know.
It really
people
is. It really is.
think that she's a loon, you know.
Are you fucking kidding me? Wait. You're kidding me? You don't think it's just... I'm going heel. I'm going heel.
She was in tears. She was
The
right.
problem,
Even
this
saying
is
she
the
didn't
problem.
see
This is the problem with any kind of
They got
cryptid
bears
or
up there?
any kind of.
They got bears up there, right?
I'm sure they have bears. Yes, the Pacific
But a
Northwest,
bear
sure, absolutely. It's a
doesn't
similar
stand
climate.
upright with swinging arms and bolt off running like a
People's
man.
memories are crazy.
That's
She's
true.
working out at midnight. What's happening?
Hey,
here?
regardless of
What are we doing?
regardless of what our opinion of her experience is, this is the exact kind of thing that makes people not want to speak out about these kind of.
So I'm part of the problem.
I absolutely think you are.
You are
This
part
is-
of the people
we're trying
that
to.
if you saw her name, you would be bullying her and saying, "Oh, Mrs. Bigfoot over here.
bitch.
Whoa, you've
How
never
do you
seen a
not have
bear
ph-
before?"
It's just like every time. It's like, how do you not have a phone? To like,
I agree. I absolutely agree. But the Bigfoot is an elusive creature. I've actually, well, I mean, me and Jackie have talked in extensive detail on this show about Bigfoot kind of being like more of like an interdimensional kind of traveler or whatever, right? I think of the maybe even like from an extraterrestrial kind of place. If he's coming, maybe here, the reason that he doesn't want to interact with humans is that we're kind of a cancer on this planet, right? So what really is important with Bigfoot research, if that is the case, or whatever capacity that they're here, they're more here to kind of communicate with the Earth itself rather than the species that is kind of killing it. You know what I mean? So there's a reason for Bigfoot to want to remain elusive because we're just going to lock it up. You've seen King Kong. You know what I mean? Bigfoot is probably familiar with this with the
favorite
flow as well.
part. I'm talking with Johnny about this. Like, somehow you just let him go long enough, he'll loop in every fucking conspiracy. By the end of it, he's like, the Ogo Pogo is like,
Shot JFK. 100%.
the Ogo Pogo shot JFK.
I just want people to be comfortable coming forward with these stories as a
Yeah.
paranormal, you know, and the reason
All
it's,
right,
it's
all
the
right,
ridicule, it's the ridicule that she faces that made her want to pull the thing off. And when basically she
Yeah.
was probably going to keep it to herself. It's her dad that that contacted this Bigfoot
Mr.
Research
Moneymaker.
Society
Yeah,
and kind of made a big enough thing about it. And I think that you have Michael fucking Moneymaker trying to just basically pay the fucking rent off of this thing, which now I think is
Though,
ridiculous.
to be fair, I don't think he's particularly trying to make money off of this. He is saying he's trying to have people believe this is a real thing. This woman was young and terrified, exiting the gym after her workout was complete.
Yeah, I don't know what you type, but we believe women over here.
Yeah.
Yes.
20-year-olds? Listen, I turned 35 last week, motherfucker. I'm just like, I don't know, me at 20?
Yeah, I don't believe what I did, but I believe I was there.
With their dabs and all that crazy thing those kids are doing these days. With their dabs.
yeah.
You
uh,
are
yeah.
going to the gym at midnight, working on their twerks.
But just to piggyback off of what Jonny was saying, I am not. I don't adhere to the multi-dimensional theory. Actually, I think
It's a bit of a stretch.
yeah, I think that
I even admit that.
I think that these creatures live like in the woods, and they're just natural creatures that we don't see because they know that they're hunted, and I don't know. I grew up. My house is literally in the woods, and I don't know. If you're in the forest during the daytime, lovely. If you go in that shit at night, shit changes. And so who's to say that I would say it's more likely that there are Bigfoots running around there at night, because who the fuck knows what's going on over there, And I didn't have another point.
Well, we don't understand this. No, well, like, I mean, I think the idea, like, there's a reason that you don't see cats, you know what I mean, running through the through the forest in the daytime and stuff like that, right? We don't really understand the species. Might be nocturnal, you know what I mean? Might want to,
they don't want to be. See, they're more scared of us than we are scared of them. They're like spiders, you know. They don't want to be seen because they know that they are. I mean, like you said, we've all seen King Kong. They don't want to be captured and taken to the big city to be paraded around like some sort of ghoul. These are
plan with the Bigfoot, the big shackles.
100%. I don't trust.
A really rackety, like rickety wooden stage.
I mean,
it's a cautionary tale.
It might be a vaudeville kind of situation.
It's a cautionary
but
tale. That's you don't think humans would do that? I would.
Hey, listen. As long as Godzilla gets summoned, I am doing it.
We're not taking any chances. Dude, by the way, Godzilla vs Kong fucking ruled. That was awesome. I just watched.
Yeah, what? Yeah. Like that was a little bit ago though, right?
I think.
Yeah. It was when they fought like on the aircraft carrier. Okay, yeah, that was dope.
I would hesitate to guess that perhaps the writers of the King Kong fable are Bigfoot believers, and this is
like a dramatic retelling.
A dramatic retelling, or like I said, a cautionary tale.
Absolutely, because
like
this is what's going to happen.
The writers of that King Kong were actually people from the future when they do get Bigfoot and do shit, and then they go back in time to be like,
they're like,
how are we going to get this out?
This is what's going to happen.
We'll make a movie.
Yeah.
That'll show them.
Yeah. Can we do? No, we can't make it Bigfoot because people are going to think we're crazy.
Totally.
So we're going to do a big gorilla.
No one's ever going to believe.
Yeah.
Story.
Just you wait.
They're not even going to be able to understand time travel, especially in the 1920s or whatever. That Bigfoot, that the King Kong original movie came out.
So Moneymaker, who has a law degree from the University of Akron.
Yeah, that stood out to me.
Said that the woman's stories raises far more green flags than red ones. It was those green flags that led me to believe there is something to this, he said. Her father is the one who filed the report on the website. He has a lot of trust and faith in his daughter and what she said she saw that night. He knows she saw something that scared her. According to the report Moneymaker authored, the Ashland woman was certain the creature she saw was not any other kind of animal or a human being in a costume, which we have gone over a story where there were multiple sightings of Bigfoot. I forget, it was in Wisconsin.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and it ended up being someone in a Bigfoot costume scaring people. So that's always a concern. Again, these
same
people
thing with Patterson Gimlin, the most famous Bigfoot footage. You saw it all over the place in the 90s. It's a Patterson Gimlin tape, and basically, I believe it was
it's got like a wristwatch on.
It was either Patterson or Gimlin or whatever that one of them admitted to filming and the other one admitted to wearing.
Well, and
the
then
suit.
There's also a guy who says that he was like hired to be the Bigfoot. On that footage. Yeah. So, and he has
but didn't get the role.
Yeah.
He got the role. He didn't get the pay. And he's pissed.
Yeah.
It's a whole documentary.
Went to the callback.
It went smoothly. It's either Patterson or Gimlin because one of them is dead now. The other one is still alive. Lives like up the road from this guy, and he has like a fucking the guy who says he was hired to play the Bigfoot has a Bigfoot like head on his fence, and so like Gimlin has to drive past it every day.
It's the biggest fuck you ever, right? But like, I think that I was trying to think of a funny idea or something of how to like explain this whole thing, and like maybe Bigfoot is actually like in the Pacific Northwest, there might just be like larger furry community than you think. And there's always like one guy at the party that's like, you don't want to change when you get there. You know what I mean? Like you want to show up with like, you know what I mean? With your fit
or you got too
on.
high.
You know, yeah, exactly. So maybe, or maybe he just lives like down the road and he's just like, oh, I'll just fuck off through the back here. And then somebody's looking out the back window or whatever and spots kind of that situation. Right?
Shit, that's a 24-hour gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. Constructed in 2018.
There's so many. That's what I don't like about this story. This particular article. It could have been the writer's fault. It's like there are so many details about the dumbest shit. They have nothing, but then like not good details. What I want. Like, how come you can tell me exactly where the gym is, but you can't tell me the restaurant? What's going on? Like, why is there so like? It's just why did you leave out? Like, it's dumb.
Well,
totally.
we do have a more detailed account of the encounter. So it ran back into the woods at an angle to right and was quickly obscured from her view by the corner of the gym building. She only saw a side view as it ran off with large arms swinging. It'd be more of a... back.
Oh, okay. You're like a...
That's the classic, you know, he runs like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, she. Oops. And so... Where was I? We're running.
Yeah, we're running.
She said she most likely would not have noticed it at all but for the noise of the twig breaking, which she assumed was caused by the creature standing on wood debris, which...
Fucking duh. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, as far as an article, I want to believe so fucking bad. I'm Fox Mulder in my heart. And, like, when you fucking write an article like that...
This
no
is not the fault.
Shit.
This is not the fault of the cider.
No,
this is the fault of the
no, of course
journalist.
not. Of course not. The woman. I'm
Yeah.
trying to you know get her account.
Yeah.
And this guy's putting all this extra fucking fluff on this article, and it's pissing me off.
The way it bolted off when it fled is what frightened her the most. It was very fast. The girl's father went to the site the next morning and found lots of deer tracks and exposed patches of ground around that parcel of woods, a quarry often pursued by Sasquatch. Moneymaker, who is familiar with the area, used maps available on the internet to examine the surrounding area, resulting in more green flags. Whichever way that deer would use to access that island of woods behind the warehouse gym is likely the same pathway the Sasquatch would have used. If a deer or Sasquatch came to those woods from the north, there is only 100 yards or so of exposed field to cross in the dark before reaching a large swampy area connected to the Jerome Fork of the Mohican River. So the location is more plausible for a Sasquatch than it appears at first in aerial photos. The key element is the presence of deer. That shows there is both a pathway and a reason for a Sasquatch to approach the edge of development late at night. He said the recent economic development on the eastern edge of the Ashland community has likely encroached on areas the Sasquatch have frequented previously unseen.
I mean, he has the name of an asshole and the face of a douche, but I mean that's quality. That's
makes
quality
a good
research
point.
right there.
You know, you can't deny the fact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Ty, what do you think?
There's no way. I can't take this dude seriously. You can't be M squared Matthew Moneymaker and just be spitting out coordinates and all this bull. It's just like all like.
I love that he just looked at he looked at one Google map and then wrote a decently worded paragraph.
Yeah.
That's where the law background comes from.
And I
what
like
mean?
how they described it as maps available on the internet. Like,
Why did he wasn't write the article? He should have just wrote this article, and I probably would have been like.
I'm sure. I'm gonna look into the organization that he's set up. We're gonna have links to it below if anybody wants to look deeper into some Bigfoot reresearch. We're all about that on this side of the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it just goes more into how this is prime Bigfoot location because it's a swampy area, because it was previously undeveloped, and because of the presence of deer. These are all things that big feet
Bears
flock to.
love it.
100%.
Sorry, Bigfoot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all good.
Moneymaker assigned the Ashland sighting a Class A rating, the highest on his 3-tiered scale. According to his website, the difference between the classifications relates to the potential for misinterpretation of what was observed or heard. A given witness might be very credible, but could have honestly misinterpreted something that was seen, found, or heard. Thus, for the most part, the circumstances of the incident determine the potential for misinterpretation and therefore the classification of the report. Class A reports involve clear sightings in circumstances where misinterpretation or misidentification of other animals can be ruled out with greater confidence. In Ashland, there are only 3 possibilities. Either the witness is lying, which I'm sure she is not, or she saw someone in a Bigfoot costume, which makes no sense. Ordinarily...
Dude,
No.
you can't deal in absolutes when you deal
Or-
with cryptids
but
and like
he
and any
does-
kind of paranormal stuff like
Which
that, right? Because
makes
no
anytime
sense.
anybody that's like a paranormal researcher deals in absolutes, you kind of sound like an asshole to anybody that doesn't believe.
He clarifies.
Okay.
He clarifies. Ordinarily, in a hoax, the person reporting the sighting or taking the photos is in on the scam, as was the case with the Patterson-Gimlin film. Or she saw a real Bigfoot, which I believe is the case here. After a while of doing these kind of investigations, you get pretty good at knowing when someone is telling the truth.
Oh man.
How like very professional and then unprofessional, so casual about it too.
So his argument basically is that it's unlikely
His argument's
that
like, come on, you gotta believe me.
yeah, it's that
That's the argument.
there is less likelihood in this particular area that she misidentified this creature as some other animal. And it is unlikely that it's a hoax because she was genuinely scared, as were her parents. And it's scared enough to make this report. It doesn't seem like this 20-year-old girl is the mastermind behind a Bigfoot hoax. Therefore, Bigfoot.
right.
Yeah. And I mean,
Totally. I totally follow that line.
what it does, what this kind of,
Talking about
what this kind of story does. I'm with you, babe. I'm with you. What this kind of
It's
story
a
does
Class A
is that
sighting, okay.
it doesn't rule out anything out. It's we don't have any concrete evidence, of course.
This
but
is just for
what we do
classification
have
purposes.
100%, right? And what we're
Yeah,
doing is keeping the dream alive.
Exactly. And now it gets added to the list of thousands of credible sightings over the years, including many in the Mohican River area, adding yet more credibility to the Ashland
Totally. We're going
Women's
to put it in our
Report.
dossier, which is a mile long,
Yes.
at least.
Moneymaker goes on to say, my hypothesis is they follow water. Creeks, streams, rivers, ridgelines, and abandoned railroad beds, as well as power line routes. Those are the same pathways followed by deer, which Sasquatch are seeking. According to his website, this marks the 6th Sasquatch sighting in Ashland County, dating back to 1943, when a man recalled being picked up by a Bigfoot as a child.
Fucking A. I mean, every
everyone
story
loves
has
that.
everyone.
Everyone loves
Fuck
that
yeah.
because it's the Sasquatch didn't eat that baby,
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. When he's saying that he's
which
following,
is like for sure gonna
yeah,
happen.
the way that he's kind of depicting Bigfoot as like kind of like a nomadic predatory animal feeding off of deer is like a theory that I don't necessarily prescribe to. Is one that that hasn't come to our attention yet.
Yeah.
But definitely interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much I don't know, hearsay and disbelief when it comes to Bigfoot. When I mean, you have Class A accounts like this popping up all over the Pacific Northwest, and video footage of Bigfoot actually abducting the Beastie Boys in the Triple Trouble video.
Right.
You know what I mean? From
Right.
2007, right?
Is a very,
Right.
It's a fisheye lens.
It is.
Yeah.
Hard to tell.
But
As we all know, every Beastie Boys video
Yeah.
is fisheye lens.
100%.
But
100%.
the issue is that people don't want to believe, you know, they want to classify it as different animals or as people playing a silly prank.
Yep.
But if you just let go of your reservations
100%.
and you know, believe in something for once in your life.
welcome curiosity
mystery.
in life into your life.
Welcome a little whimsy,
100%.
if you will. I know Moneymaker, this is a Moneymaker quote. I know it's hard to accept they are real until you have your own face-to-face encounter. People keep trying to fit them into the mold of other species. We're thinking of them as humans, like they would have a home address. They continue to move around, often at night, when deer are more likely to be active. They're not.
It's really on the deer.
He's really fixating on the deer.
Yeah, okay.
They're not often going to be walking around in daytime in full view. Everything goes quiet at night between 10 p.m. and sunrise. That's the most likely time for a Sasquatch sighting. So unless you're perusing around and you have a good grasp on what goes on in the woods between 10 p.m. and sunrise, who are you to knock down the possibility, the very real likelihood of a whole class of creatures? And you're saying they don't exist? How dare you?
I feel attacked.
How do you think?
I know you're looking at the camera, Jackie, but I'm like, you're looking right in my eye.
Fucking
you
tell
a
him.
piece of shit.
You see, this is, I mean, I'm not going to say it.
Wow.
Honestly, like I think that promiscuity and
they canceled their own producer.
We're not going along with the Bigfoot story.
Listen, it's not working out.
I think that like we don't need you, to believe what we believe, but we do need you
that real quick.
to open up your heart a little bit to some more possibilities, because this is not even the wildest thing.
I'm fully aware.
This is not even the wildest shit that we believe.
I don't know what I walked into.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
I know what this is gonna be.
Just to button up this story, fun fact, I have been to Ashland.
Here we go.
She
was following 98 degrees.
You know the bit that I have about catching a freebie on my stomach?
Yes.
That happened in Ashland, Oregon.
Yeah,
I was driving to LA with my friend when I was working as a personal assistant for an actress, and so I was driving her car back to LA, and we had to stop for a night in Ashland, and I'm not going to say I saw Bigfoot, but feet were involved.
Everything's making so much more sense now.
Yeah, why don't, I mean, so
feet thing. Yeah.
So if anybody's interested, then you too can drive to Ashland, potentially see a Bigfoot, and probably get your toes sucked.
Yeah.
And that's pretty awesome, right? Somebody might jerk off into your belly. Too.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty cool.
See,
too.
why don't you guys open with that when it comes to believing in this Bigfoot shit? Do you know what I mean?
That's the community. That's the Bigfoot community. That's what we do.
Yeah.
You have to reel them in. You have to be rewarded for your beliefs,
100%.
right? You can't just, we're not pitching Bigfoot to you. You have to come in on your own accord, and then you enjoy the riches.
Absolutely. Then we'll open your eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, if you guys are trying to recruit, start with the toe sucking.
But as someone who has been to Ashland, I'm telling you, Bigfoot are afoot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely agree. No matter.
And so that adds to the validity of this story.
100%. Really wishing that I said the Beastie Boys thing now, that I could, kind of segue it into a fantastic album, but. That was a lot of fun. The opening story is great, but I think when you get something that we're both so passionate about, you know what I mean? And now we have another piece of the puzzle here.
It's great because before, when we would do these stories, we're just talking to each other about it. So there's no
nobody's ever disagreed.
There's no palate cleanser. There's no gauge to contrast us against for when we just keep going, like building and building on each other.
I'm just gonna suss out everything like that. Because we talk about it beforehand, so I'll just be like, okay, I'm gonna go the other way.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the reason that we've tuned in today, 39 minutes into the episode.
Hey, we hadn't talked about
Bigfoot in a long time.
about the Squatch the Squatch in a while. So we had to.
There's a lot of push down shit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean,
when you get a Class A sighting, we get excited.
We really do. We really do. And it kind of goes to the top of the priority list. You know what I mean? The fact that this came to our attention while doing the research for this album, being that Bigfoot and the Beastie Boys are so closely related, and actually even having a personal relationship. You know what I mean? Just fucking adds to it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
fucking
it's
adds to the whole thing.
serendipitous.
It really
Hey,
does.
when we were driving here today, I took a route that I don't normally take, and we drove by Washburn, walking across the street.
Same thing as a Bigfoot
Serendipity.
Yeah.
It's in the air.
You guys did see Bigfoot.
Yeah.
We literally did.
Yeah.
We literally did. But today, guys, I wanted to bring to your attention.
Yeah, right.
It's all good. It's all good.
We'll get there, Johnny.
Make it to the hour mark.
Oh my god.
I am too.
I just. If we don't talk about this album, I'm gonna be pissed. But I feel like that's where it's going. Am I getting punked on the show now?
No, go on. Why do you keep going on tangents? It's crazy. You don't want to talk about the album that you brought on. Go on.
Fucking bitch. Ladies and gentlemen, check your head.
That's
From
all the time we have.
1992. I'm not even going to talk
Check
about
your head what the authorities said to the 20-year-old woman in Ashland. After she
You wrote notes.
so many.
Yeah, I did. You fucking assholes.
Go on. Okay.
Done?
Mhm.
Done? Good? Good? Guys, this is a fucking music podcast, all right? I'm trying to take this thing seriously.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right? Can we give a little respect right now?
Hey,
For an album
I'm
that just
giving
turned 30
respect.
years old?
Okay.
You know what I mean? On the eve of its fucking, well, I guess not really.
I don't think it's an eve. I
but
think
it was
it's-
April 21st, right? But, you know, so there's a reason that we're doing it. Plus a 10-year anniversary of a man's death. You know
What's
what I
the
mean?
opposite of an eve?
I don't fucking know.
Okay. Moving along.
Does anybody know?
Fortnite?
Fortnite?
No.
Does that mean 2 weeks?
Blue Moon?
Blue moon? Yeah. On the blue moon of the
I think that's an Elvis song, but I don't even know what a blue moon is.
blue moon.
Yeah. It's in the.
It's also Blue Moon of Kentucky.
Hey. Anyways,
I don't even know where to go from here.
we're on the eve of the anniversary.
The eve of the anniversary, yes. But anyway, what we have this week is, yes, I think a classic album, defining album from a band. I think that was really going through some personal changes and then kind of like defined their sound more so on this record than I think any of the ones before. So to give proper credit to the 1992 classic, Check Your Head by the Beastie Boys, released on Capitol Records.
Yes. So goddamn good.
Beastie Boys are, of course, Adam Horowitz, Michael Diamond, and Adam Yauch, otherwise known as MCA, Mike D, and Ad Rock. And basically the antithesis of cool to me. I think, like, if you could bottle fucking cool and, like, put it in a jar, what you would probably
Antithesis
have.
means opposite.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know any of the words that I'm speaking. But I really do.
Real Renaissance man.
Yeah, it sounds cool when I said it, though. You know, but I think like the, you know, I don't know, if you looked it up in the fucking dictionary, they would definitely be there. But what you have is a group of young men kind of defining their sound over a period of time, going from a hardcore punk band to a group that, for, you know, more or less brought hip hop into the mainstream. There's that quote from LL Cool J inducting the Beastie Boys into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where they said that Run DMC brought hip hop kind of to like the outside the you know, the borders of suburbia, and the Beastie Boys, you know, drove it in, which is kind of weird, basically, because when black music becomes popular for whatever reason in a white society, you will kind of need a white group to drive it home. You know what I mean? Which is always kind of like weird or whatever that is the case. But if Beastie Boys is that representative for this particular kind of music, then I don't think you could have a better, you know, representative for this kind of thing. So, Jackie.
Yeah.
What did you think about this album?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've obviously heard this album before. So it's good. It's funny going back and listening to it because it's so much more like experimental, you know, and then I remembered, I guess. Yeah, there's just like so much shit going on. And I remember, like, as a kid becoming aware of the Beastie Boys. I think it was just from like on like Much Music or whatever, they would play their music videos a lot. And we're back.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think as a kid I was just kind of aware of them as that their music videos were always funny. And I remember it was like some awards show. I remember they they were, you know how before some award shows they have like a whole introduction
The
for
red
it,
carpet and all that. Yeah.
and they not the red carpet. They have like a whole like video introduction that they do. It's like the host trying to make it to the show or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember one of them, they were like a part of it, and it was like really funny.
That's when they did the Triple Trouble thing, and they were all wearing like suits and all that stuff, and that's
Maybe,
they did the like the Bigfoot thing. That's when they were kind of talking about
Okay,
you know, being like, where have you guys been? Blah blah blah. We were locked up with Bigfoot. And all that kind of thing.
So yeah, and so then as an adult, I definitely have gone back. Definitely, I would say Paul's Boutique more. Then I'm trying to think if I've actually gone back and listened to Check Your Head as an adult, and maybe that's why I was surprised by like how much other shit is going on in there. But yeah. Very enjoyable.
If you look at like their first 3 records, I think they're very different.
Yeah.
Very different. From License to Ill is like party anthems, you know what I mean? Kind of like, you know, produced by Rick Rubin, and at the time that Run DMC is coming out and stuff, and you got to fight for your right to party and no sleep till Brooklyn, or you know what I mean? Very different.
Once again, fucking Rick Rubin.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once again,
the fucking goddamn genius.
So good.
But when they have a really goddamn cool story, because after you know, they signed to Def Jam and put out License to Ill, they tour, and like they tour with Madonna, and they're huge. They're selling millions of records. I think they sold like 9 million or something that year.
Yeah.
And after that, they kind of got off the ride, and Mike D has a really cool quote of saying, like, you know, you just got off the roller coaster and the record label is already giving you a ticket for the next ride, and you haven't even stepped off yet. And they're like, well, wait a minute, like we want to, you know, kind of chill or whatever and grow as artists rather than, you know, kind of continue to basically just do License to Ill Part 2. So for them to leave, go to Capitol Records and do Paul's Boutique, and really change the game as far as like sampling is concerned. Yeah. You know, and for that to flop, commercially speaking, then you get a 3-year hiatus. You know what I mean? Like you get this weird time where nobody's shining the spotlight on them. Nobody's like forcing them into a studio to record, and they have 3 years just to fuck around. You know what I mean? And then I think they find like spirituality. They find who they, you know, kind of were when they were coming out, and start speaking out against, you know what I mean, all these kind of like frat boy party culture kind of thing or whatever that they were kind of shoehorned into, especially speaking out against like violence against women and, you know what I mean, human rights and all that kind of stuff. I think this album is like the really kind of shapes what they would become kind of for like the rest of their career.
Right.
And they were comfortable enough to put like hardcore songs on this thing, and you know what I mean, and kind of like make it like lo-fi and like weird vocals and stuff like that, distorted vocals and everything like that, right? So I think that they just like had the like when you take their production chops as far as like sampling and all that stuff's concerned that you saw in Paul's Boutique, and then add it to their like skill as musicians, then fucking you're off to the races, right? And and then to become like, I don't know, not only like a hip hop band, but I think like to me like one of like the defining like bands in music or whatever, or as like a young kid getting into like punk rock, especially, and like Rage Against the Machine or like Anti-Flag, and there's like activism attached to your music, and some of it is like a little bit like kind of hard in the paint or whatever, right? With Beastie Boys, you can still have fun and be like a good person. You know what I mean? You can clown around. You can do comedy, but do it the right way. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? And I think like that was huge to me. Ty, what's your background with the Beasties?
I mean, huge, because I grew up skateboarding, so it's like there's such a skate band. Yeah. There's such a fucking skate band. Totally. And like, I mean, a white dude in the suburbs who loves hip hop. It's like, of course, this is like,
yep,
you know, a big deal. And it also who played an instrument. Yeah, and totally listened to all these different kind of things. It's like, yeah, they were like
a fly to
perfect.
Shit.
You're like, oh, it's such a cool story about like, yeah, you're on Def Jam Records. Like that's in fucking insane, right? So then they signed to
like
Capitol.
At the beginning of hip hop too, with LL Cool J and Run DMC. You know what I mean? That is hip hop. Like that is what it is, right? Nuts.
So then, like when they get on to Capitol, and then Paul's Boutique's like you say a dud kind of commercially speaking. Now I think people look back and are like, this is
of course,
like fucking sick.
Pet Sounds kind of a situation or whatever. You know what I mean? Kind of like discover. Yeah, everybody recognizes years later.
So then they move out to LA. Right, and they're like, oh, and then Capitol just doesn't give a fuck anymore. Right. No one comes to check on them. Right?
Yeah.
No one, like, so they just make G Sun Records, it's a studio, which, from my understanding, is just a music studio and a skate park.
That's what it looks like to me. Yeah.
So it's just like ultimate space to create and to like all that you're surrounded by all this shit you love to do, and then they bring it back to like 1980 when they were a punk band and start picking up their instruments again. And it's insane. MCA alone the bass in this
Yes.
album is insane, and then the sampling is nuts too. Like Paul's Boutique is so great for that, and I think a lot of people were so like anti-sampling and stuff like that because it felt like these people were just like kind of whatever stealing these things or not. To me, it was like people were more mad like people didn't understand where these things come from. And it's like if you listen to the Beastie Boys talk about these samples, they know that they are students of the fucking
they
game.
know exactly
masters
what
of the
records
game,
are they were talking about. There's Jimmy Kimmel was talking to them about like a band that he was in, and the name of the band was like Soul Love or something like that. And Ad Rock was like, "Do you know that?" Or like, he mentioned some deep cut of some band or whatever. Like that's a great song from like I think it's Buddy Holly or some shit like that. He's like with a great drum beat at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like they know exactly like where
if
those
you get
things
Quest going, I don't know what that is. That's amazing.
100%. Right?
You know what I mean? Such a fucking epic album for them, and I do really think it like shaped the rest of their sound for the remainder of it. License to Ill is fantastic, but like you said, there's more kind of party jams. But this had so many tracks on it, and then I feel like their video game came through huge in this too, where it was like it started to be like, oh, these dudes are just doing wild shit all the time. Like, I think Gratitude's my favorite track off this whole album, and it's just like that fuzzy bass, which is crazy because you like hear about it. Apparently, it's like a lick that he had from way back in the day.
As the story goes, it's like 20 years, just couldn't find it to fit on anything.
In several things, and it's like, because it's fire. It's a weird time to it. It's like, it's got this this great like climbing line for it's like a G sharp A, and like dong, and you're like, oh my god, like it's just oh man, you get so fired up listening to that. And the video for it is like Pink Floyd like live at Pompeii, which is crazy because it's like this is probably I probably saw the Pink Floyd thing after that Beastie Boys video. It was like, what the fuck? Right? They're a very David Bowie Nirvana situation.
Totally, yeah, you can put it together, right?
And if you look at, I was looking at the tracks for like 1992, and if you look of kind of like what is like super popular at the time, this album makes complete fucking sense. You got "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana, super grungy, fuzzy as fuck, right? And then you've also got Jackie Agnew's karaoke go-to, "Baby Got Back."
at the height of musical creation, which you have.
You got this like crazy hip hop beats with this grungy ass shit. And that's exactly what this album is.
That's funny. I was looking at the pop charts, and it was Michael Jackson's "Black or White"
also
and "Tears in Heaven." Eric Clapton as well. It's like a big year.
Yeah.
You know,
I saw the "Baby Got Back." I was like, yes.
But like, I think like that's with when video kind of comes into it, and you see like MCA even become like further more of like the artistic visionary in the group or whatever. Like he does the like the alter ego or whatever, Nathaniel Hornblower, and he dresses up like the like what do you even call that, like the Dutch dude or whatever, right? Like you think I'm weird, but I see the business suit walking around, maybe I'm laughing at you now. So funny, just not breaking and staying in character. And like and different stuff too, right? Like I think like a lot of the "So What You Want," you know what I mean, really simple like lo-fi, and like fisheye, low angles, you know,
always
kind of
fisheye,
like
which is a total skateboarding thing.
But then if you go to like Body Movin', you know what I mean, they have
this whole spy.
Yeah, that
dude,
whole weird
this
thing
sword
is so
fight
sick. Yes, dude, he's jumping. So funny, right? And like they're like just willing to go like wherever they want to. You know what I mean, right? Like just don't give a fuck. And you know what I mean? Like I think that Gratitude probably. It's those songs that kind of stand out differently.
There's 20 tracks on this album.
I know. I just had to look at the thing, but like,
like it's crazy.
If you, there's a chunk of it. There's a chunk of it that goes from like some of the best, like I think like the hip hop of the generation. And the reason that I love the Beastie Boys so much is that it's so fun and like it feels like friendship because it's passing them like back and forth. A lot of rap groups, it's like each dude gets 16 bars. Everybody's trying to kind of outdo each other or whatever. But like there is no kind of one without the rest.
They rap like a band.
Exactly. 100%, right? When MCA died, they're not a band anymore. You know what I mean? They're not going to go out and still like.
But they're all just trying to make each other better by like the licks that they add on.
Yeah,
that's why they join in on every end.
Exactly.
every sentence.
So when you do that, you have like some of like the best like kind of shit from like Pass the Mic going all the way into like Jesus Christ, what is that? Like Time for Living fucking is like one of the is a hardcore jam that could go up against any
For
80s
sure,
New York City
right.
hardcore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But look where they're
And
from.
done
It's
some
like,
of the
yeah,
best.
they're still Brooklyn kids, right?
Totally.
So it's
Totally,
like,
yeah.
You know, and then like and like going from there into this like Biz Markie just dropping in on a weird interlude in between there too. You know what I mean? Like over like a Ted Nugent sample and stuff. Like there's they whatever the fuck is cool to them is cool, right? And there's no like they set the trends rather than kind of follow anything,
Totally,
right?
Which is always doing their own thing.
100%. Right?
it was a huge like, oh, you can like all this shit. Like they were such a mix. Like they just did everything that you're like, oh, these dudes are into like all of this shit.
Totally.
Where it's like, oh, my dad's shit doesn't have to be corny or whatever like that, or
100%.
fucking
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, oh no, you can incorporate all these things.
Totally,
It's
and
dope.
and stand up like it's cool too because especially at the time of like in the 90s when you know I mean Nirvana and a lot of this like I mean you're basically it's setting the scene for like what like you know Limp Bizkit and nu metal and shit is going to kind of come like later, and for them to kind of start out as like a 1980s like hardcore with that same kind of sensibility or whatever like punk rock kind of ethos, put your money where your mouth is kind of shit. As soon as they wanted to like kind of switch up their for what they were doing from License to Ill to like the becoming the people who they became with Free Tibet movements and all that kind of shit, you know, you have them idolizing the Bad Brains and being like, wait a minute, we can be just as like, you know, we can actually be, you know, like real positive sources for change and like in the actual real world, which is kind of fucked, right? If you want to like see like who's the like the kind of person that would make the younger you proud, you know, to know that he grew into, rarely happens when you get money and fame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who makes millions of dollars and becomes a better person?
Yeah.
Right? Which I think is like pretty remarkable that they are just like you know what I mean? That's just what cool is, right? To you know, I mean that's the definition, you know, of it to them. They're going to do it regardless, right?
Yeah.
Which it was like that's that inspirational thing or whatever. When you see that when you're a kid, you're like, oh, okay, there's a way to do it. My brother's friends listen to Pantera, and I'm like, I'm not going to act like those guys. Aren't these guys,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And not a dig at like, you know what I mean, the fucking music because Pantera is a fantastic band, but you know
Like
when the fans
culture that
ruin the
it-
band,
yeah,
oh of course,
the
yeah,
culture that it encourages and shit around
sure.
their stuff.
yeah, for sure. I'd rather just like listen to Walk in my headphones and go to one of those concerts and actually just like kind of stand around some of those guys or whatever, right? So, but not the case with the Beastie Boys. I'm like stoked when you meet somebody that's like really into him. That person's probably more than likely going to be a fun person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you just know that. Oh, you fucks with this. Like
Totally.
I kind of have a bit of an idea of a bunch of stuff that you fuck with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.
For sure.
Where yeah, I had oh shit, I had those questions set up, but I can't remember what they were.
Back to Bigfoot.
It's just it's like such a perfect album. It's like when you see Scott. I don't know. When I saw Scott Pilgrim versus the World for the first time, I was like, "This is like everything that I like."
I've never
Is it
seen that
up-
movie. Is it awesome?
It's so
Yeah.
dope.
Oh, really?
It's really really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's so much music in it, and then like video games and shit, and then like just
Yeah.
funny stuff. And
Okay.
it's like, yeah, it's really 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 good. It's like it's kind of that the same vibe of like, oh wow, this has a whole bunch of shit that I really really like, all in one thing, and I don't have to be ashamed. I feel like it also kind of. I don't know, man. It made you like feel cool as a kid, being like, "Oh, 'cause,
You were
like,
into
these
the
were
right, like you
these
were
were
had
all
the right
things that
idea.
you would get made fun of." Like,
Yeah.
skateboarding wasn't fucking really that
No,
cool
fuck
yet.
no, man.
You were fucking
Yeah.
skid if you like skated.
We were skids, fucking dirty kids, all that shit. They call us all kinds
Yeah,
of crazy shit
right?
or whatever, right? We were like, I just want to be like a skateboarder. Like, no,
Yeah.
if you didn't play hockey in my town, fucking, you know what I mean? Then yeah, you're
Exactly.
a piece of shit.
And
Totally.
then these dudes dropped, and it's like, "Oh, what? This is fucking so sick."
Oh yeah.
It's always cool when someone just isn't like afraid to break the conventions and break the norms, like in music or with movies or
any
or
art, right?
comedy or whatever, and like to do like exactly what you want to do, and you're not like copying anyone else, and it can be like super out there, but I think as long as you're like confident with it, and it's always going to resonate with someone, and then you see like a whole other it generates so much afterwards of then people taking from that, like with Scott Pilgrim, you see kind of elements of that like coming into the zeitgeist after
sure.
that.
Yeah, you kind of start to see like
people
as
are like admirable. People will always be more affected by someone who's like doing art that speaks to them, even if it's so out of left field and so like no one else could make this. It's always gonna like speak to people, and then I think those things become more a part of the culture and stuff because they're so like out there when they first come out.
Totally. And I think that like especially for like if you're a kid that is kind of into any kind of like counterculture, there's something that the regular kind of society isn't, you know, there's an itch that's not being scratched from all that other stuff or whatever, right? So then when you kind of when you start to see the thing that you kind of grew up with become now skateboarding is in the Olympics, and you know what I mean, like Scott Pilgrim is featuring all that kind of music and stuff like that you know that you were listening to, and that it kind of like solidifies. There's something like without taking any ego away from it, you're kind of like, fuck, I knew I was on the right thing. You know what I mean? Like I knew I was on the right path.
This shit was dope.
Fuck yeah, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And if,
I knew this shit was dope.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and then you see the
exactly.
people that would have like kind of made fun of it before, kind of copying those, you know, those things
Yeah.
and doing
Oh,
it
that's the
shitty.
bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they're faking the funk, right? And I
Yeah.
think that that's the thing is when you can kind of spot like the innovators or like the true pioneers and stuff like that you would you know that I would call the Beastie Boys, and the reason that that I'm comfortable saying that is because they would probably dispute that, right? They know very well their influences, and like, you know, like find them standing on the shoulders of giants. The first thing that they said when they're inducted into a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just to even be said to be mentioned in the same, you know, words as Run DMC and the Bad Brains or whatever. Like their whole thing is like is
well, it's always gonna be
is
like
check everything else out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, an amalgamation of all of everything that you like, and especially in like a kind of band situation, they're all bringing in their own influence and stuff. So it's always going to be like a mishmash of everything brought together. And then I think the people that do then try to that aren't inspired by it but try to like copy it, and you can tell when it's like not authentic because they don't have the same influences. They're just trying to copy the thing that's popular.
Exactly.
Like when fucking Andy Kaufman was doing his thing, I'm sure, like, obviously none of us were around at that time, but how many fucking people I'm sure were trying to do Andy Kaufman at open mics.
100%.
Like-
100%. We see it. We fucking
And
see
I'm
it now.
sure at
We see it
first
now.
when
How
he
many
was-
people are doing Dave Chappelle now? Or,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and
Or
when
whoever
Andy
their,
Kaufman was coming up, people thought he was a fucking lunatic, you know? I mean, still many people like do. He was. But like, you know, like, and him like doing that thing coming up was ridiculed, you know, until it became popular, until people kind of turned on to it. And then you get the people that are just trying to copy what's popular now, you know, and it's not
it's faking the funk, right? And I think like it's really easy to sniff out, but at the same time, I think it might be easier for us to sniff out because you care about the art that you like, right? I think if something is mass produced for, you know, that kind of middle America mall top 40s kind of crowd or whatever, right? They don't want to be challenged, and they like something that that's accessible or whatever, right? So I mean, so it's almost like you know, corporate America or Capitol Records will fucking, you know, package up Donny Osmond and sell it, you know, right, you know, to those people because there's an audience for it, right? But I think that what you see
is Donny Osmond the guy too that they were like, that's why Capitol is ignoring him for?
Yeah, exactly.
That's like a famous quote, right?
Totally.
It's like the owner of Capitol Records is like, I don't have any time to focus on this album with you boys because I gotta Donny Osmond's got a comeback.
You know what I mean? And for them to just acknowledge that and be like, no, that's cool, man. That's cool, right? Because the best thing that they could ever do is sign a contract or multi-album contract with these guys.
This
because
gave
there's
them the
no
space, dude.
Exactly.
Like, honestly, it was like the biggest, like having that commercial flop,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Was literally one of maybe the best things that happened because
Totally.
they got all this time where no one was checking in on it. When you
Yeah.
like, especially back then when you had these, when you were that huge.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people are looking at your shit
Oh
that
my
are
God.
in the studio while you're
Totally.
recording, telling you no.
Yeah, this isn't
Yeah.
gonna work.
To
Yeah.
like words you're saying. Where
Yeah.
it's like,
Totally.
I don't know. They're in
Eminem
LA.
famously has all those like the Paul sketches or whatever throughout his albums and shit like that. Where he'd be like, we can't put this out. What the fuck? The label's breathing down my. You know, when you're dealing with that much money on the line, you know what I mean. There's you're an artist, but at some point too, like you're a commodity that, you know what I mean, that is there to. There's a lot of people that are putting up a lot of money for you to hopefully make it back, right?
And I think you see
So-
that like in art and especially music all the time, where someone an album will do really well and they'll skyrocket to fame, and then obviously people are pushing them to just do the same thing, make the same thing over and over, and there's all that pressure on them because they're so fucking popular to make money for all these other people, you know. And then when it happens, the pressure is too much, or you try to do something more experimental, whatever it is, and you get a flop, and then you do have the freedom to like again be more creative and do your own thing. And you see it happen all the time, and it's kind of like a blessing in disguise because you have more space. You don't have people fucking breathing down your neck telling you to do one thing.
Yeah, it's weird, and it seems like they weren't in a rush. You know what I mean, right? Because like if
there's a big gap in between.
Yeah, exactly. It's about 3 years, right, in between this and Paul's Boutique. So if you have that and you can recognize that, wait a minute, we're just gonna go like, I don't know, essentially like back to your roots, right? Because what you kind of do then once you like establish that sound is it's funny because we're saying like it's probably the best thing that happened because it's all hearsay, right? But you can kind of see within their actions that they weren't rushing to get, the next project out. And then when you like they find that fucking sound and then fucking nail it because Ill Communication comes out after this, Hello Nasty follows and all of that shit, is fucking Sabotage comes, like all of these kind of things that are like the defining 90s fucking sounds for sure. And images too as well, right? If you
so
grew up on
like specific
on MTV or if you grew up on like Much Music or whatever, right, then like that kind of stuff is burned into my head anyway, like with them in the 70s suits or them in the spy shit or them in the fucking like the Sabotage video with the high vis vests and stuff. But
that's definitely like I think the impact they made on me as a kid is that they were so much a part of that like MTV / in Canada Much Music, like the music video era.
Oh
like
man,
that
and
was
like
so much
and the best of them, right? The best of them too. Foo Fighters were fun. They had like they had some cool videos and you know what I mean. There was some stuff that I was just watching because it was like it was the only thing that I watched, just like loving music. But there's something different between like Hit Me Baby One More Time or like the NSYNC fucking like pop videos and stuff like that. There's something very different when the Beastie Boys comes on right after that, and you're like, oh wait a minute, these guys.
I could have seen the Beastie Boys in that puppet video though.
Dude, that'd have been awesome, man. they would have done it so much fucking cooler. But
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
I would love to see a Beastie Boys cover. Hit Me Baby One More Time.
I mean,
the Backstreet Beasties.
There's got to be a way to do it. There's got to be like if you can deep fake shit, right? There's got to be like a music if AI gets to like that kind of point or whatever, where you just like plug in 2 different albums to like an AI simulator.
Those mashups are huge though, dude. Everyone loves that shit.
Dude,
like
there's
Careless Whisper and Rebel Yell at the same time.
Man, there's fucking there's a whole album of No Effects meets DOS Effects. It's, and it's fucking awesome, man. There's like so many of them. Or Jimi Hendrix and the Wu-Tang Clan too. That's a good one if you can.
There's so how important. I'm just thinking about it. Sorry. How important of a band you are is when you identify certain tones, sounds, or looks, or anything like that. Like we joke about the Fisheye Lens.
Yeah,
but it's like that is the follow back. Yep. That's the Beastie Boys shot that is just 100%. Known as the Beastie Boys shot.
And anybody that does it now, it's almost paying homage.
There are certain scratches that I'll hear. Like there's a certain kind of record scratch that like that's a
like
Beastie
not
Boys
a great
scratch.
one on there. It's on, you know what I mean? But it's ad rock and it's on this fucking record and it's like ad rock on the cut. And it's like it's not that skillful. But like in comparison to like DJ Premier or DJ Scratch or whatever, you know what I mean? Cuber, like those.
When you identify certain things like that too, like this is like reminds me of this artist because of this. Like that's insane.
Yeah, there's and like even like the vocals and stuff on this album when they like purposefully use like weird mics to distort their voices and stuff like that. There's something about that fucking sound
like
that stamps it in like in history of me. Like I fucking had this on cassette in my in a shitty Oldsmobile that I had for a long time, and then when I lost my license, I gave that tape to my friend Shelby. It was funny because the reason that I picked this album is because my friend Shelby doesn't want me to do a record that we both love because he wants to come on the show, which is great, but hurry up and get down to Vancouver, motherfucker. So we were talking about
Shelby.
I did fuck that guy.
So I'm sure you're very nice.
He's a man. He did we'll talk about that.
The piece of shit.
But it was funny because I
fired up about that Bigfoot stuff, guys. Sorry.
But it was a few weeks ago.
Piece of shit. I I love that insult because people say it so casually, but if you think about it, what a thing to call someone.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
Yeah. That guy is a real piece of shit.
He's a fucking dirtbag.
Oh yeah, I bet he is.
Yeah, he looks like it.
That's about the only reaction you get. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's actually funny too because every time that we walk into stores together, security will leave me alone and they'll follow him around for whatever reason, which is a bummer.
Should have got a description of this guy before I called him that, right?
No, he's all good. No,
he's
like a
about
real
6
piece of
foot
shit.
8.
no, you don't have to.
What are you
I'm the one that's stealing. Like I don't know. That's always the funny part, though. Is like, yeah, they're always following the wrong guy.
That's perfect then.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works out. I
Decoy.
stole an Orlando Magic jersey from Value Village.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Tracy McGrady.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
a fire jersey.
Number one. No. Yeah, it was
Fire
awesome.
jersey.
It's awesome.
You still got that shit?
No, it was a long time ago. It was white. It was in the and it went the way of the buffalo. When you drink,
It was a very white thing for you to do to wear a basketball jersey.
Oh yeah. 100%.
It was white.
I was drinking cheap beers with it on the Okanagan beaches for many years, and then
About
It
right.
did make
Yeah,
it-
just sitting
yeah.
on a beach in a fucking white basketball
Yeah.
jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Oh,
looking for the Ogopogo, huh?
That's
Yeah.
fucking right, man. I got a headlamp on and shit. I'm only out there between 10 o'clock and the hours of sunrise and 10 o'clock in the day. And I'm going to find some shit.
That's like that's a Bigfoot sighting. It's Jonny, long arm swinging it in a fucking.
No, see, like you
basketball
guys, that's what you
jersey.
guys think that, but I'm from like a more heavily wooded area. You don't really Bigfoot hunt up in the Okanagan with the desert as kind of like terrain and stuff like that. The woods
Right.
just aren't as heavy. You know what I mean? To withstand, Bigfoot as
too
we know.
hot.
So there's very
It's too hot.
It's
It is
true.
too hot. Yeah,
too hot
that's
for
why
that,
it's
but you know
more
what I mean?
like
You'll
yeah,
find
I
significantly
think,
less Bigfoot sightings in the Okanagan than you will
Yeah,
in the
because
Kootenays.
the Okanagan is too far inland. It gets the weather is more extreme. That's why Pacific Northwest is more of a Bigfoot hotbed. Like along the coast or like on the island and shit.
I would say
where it's
like
more
basically
like a
as far as like
temperate
Spokane
climate.
area and like
Yeah,
trail and
yeah,
stuff like
because
that. That's
Bigfoot
my
they're
neck
they're
of the
covered
woods.
in fur. You don't want them to overheat. That's why you don't find them in desert land. You
Yeah.
know that's
No, and you never would,
not-
right? You know what I mean? Because they're a smart, industrious creature. Right?
yeah, and there's nowhere to hide there. What are they gonna fucking hide in the fucking
In a fucking vineyard?
in a fucking
What,
vineyard?
Bigfoot? You think you're gonna fucking
They
hide
hate
out?
grapes, dude.
Yeah,
They hate
everybody
grapes.
knows
Everybody
that.
knows that.
Everybody
Yeah,
knows.
moneymaker will tell
Finally,
you.
thanks for getting
Yeah.
on board with this time.
Yeah.
Took you a minute to
It
come
took an
around.
hour and 20.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of, final thoughts on the album. What do you think?
Yeah, good, solid album. Check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
I think it's awesome. Live your life by these philosophies,
Yeah.
by the rules and stuff like that.
This is a great traveling album. Like,
Yes.
like if you're just like whatever, if you're like commute anywhere, like if you're on the bus, you're driving, like whatever. It's just such a good feel good band.
Yes.
But like saying real shit at the same time. So,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
lighten
check
up.
it out.
Don't take yourself
Yeah.
too seriously, but at the same time, fucking be the change that you want to be in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep your eyes peeled for the big feet and the she feet, and
They're out there.
They're out there. You know,
We believe and
we believe
Fuck you.
we believe all sightings. Not all. We believe
we
when
believe
it's
all
when it's it was Class A sighting.
Class A sightings.
Take it
you know,
seriously.
Absolutely. Don't ever take any of this kind of stuff with a grain of salt. And if you
Exactly,
see
yeah.
Bigfoot, you have any kind of sighting, definitely contact your local authority. Contact
Yeah.
us. Definitely
Contact
try
us
to
for
keep
sure.
try to keep the guns away. You know what I mean? Definitely.
Yeah. You don't contact the news. You don't want this to be blown up, and that's why we probably haven't heard about the most credible sightings, because people who respect the land and respect the Bigfoot population know that you don't need to report it.
No,
you
you
gotta
keep it to your
this-
fucking
this
self.
shit
We don't
hush
talk to
hush.
police.
And that's what's questionable about Mr. Moneymaker here is, why do you need a whole organization? Why can't we just keep it to ourselves?
100%.
Live amongst the feet.
More on this next week.
Yeah. Signing off.